My name is Jeff Davies. I am a neuroscientist based at Swansea University Medical School. My introduction to research was as a PhD student. I studied neuroscience at Cardiff University, where I was looking at the control of pituitary gland hormone release and synthesis by the brain. That was a long time ago. That led me to really appreciate the importance of how the brain regulates factors outside of the brain, and then equally how those factors influence brain function. So it was during this time that a gut peptide was identified that had the ability to regulate growth hormone function, regulate the brain, and regulate also appetite, which is really interesting. And then a few years later, where I was lucky enough to get an academic post at Swansea University, I made this the sort of the focus of my research, trying to understand how some of these factors that are produced outside of the brain regulate brain function. So we've identified a gut peptide that is important in regulating appetite. So other researchers around the world demonstrated this initially, and what we've done is help push the work forward to demonstrate that this peptide has a neuroprotective function in certain contexts. So we know that calorie restriction has beneficial effects when it's done in certain contexts. We're trying to understand how that is neuroprotective, and we think that this peptide is mediating that beneficial effect. So for this Catalyst Award, we're applying this knowledge to the context of motor neuron disease. So the project will allow us to collect blood samples from people with motor neuron disease and isolate immune cells. So our hypothesis is that these circulating peptides are having a neuroprotective effect by modulating the immune system. So we've shown in different experimental contexts that the peptide is anti-inflammatory, and the modification of the immune response appears to suggest that it should be neuroprotective. So to try and understand that better in a human context and in a motor neuron disease context, this project will allow us to collect blood samples, isolate immune cells, and treat these immune cells with these peptides for us to measure the response. So the peptide is called ghrelin. It stands for growth hormone releasing peptide. So there have been reports that individuals with motor neuron disease do have a reduction in this peptide hormone, and the way we think it's working by impacting these immune cells, people with motor neuron disease have also been shown to have impairments in these immune cells. So we think there's this peptide that may be responsible for that impairment. So there are several aims at different levels. So this research is a relatively new collaboration with researchers at King's College London and at UCL. So we're hoping to establish a collaboration for us to exchange ideas and hopefully move the field forward. But on a practical level, we have specific aims of identifying these T cells in individuals and how they change in healthy controls and people with motor neuron disease. That's the primary aim. The secondary aim is to test the effect of this ghrelin peptide on these cells. Can we recapitulate what we've seen already in the lab from people from healthy donors, where this ghrelin peptide is having an anti-inflammatory effect? So the sort of experimental aim from that perspective is to determine whether or not ghrelin peptide can still have an anti-inflammatory effect in T cells from people with motor neuron disease. And then we have a final aim where we've been working with collaborators to develop some small molecule compounds that enhance the effect of the ghrelin peptide, with the ultimate aim of using these small compounds alongside the peptide to boost their effects. The impact of this specific Catalyst Award will be giving us a yes/no answer as to whether or not the peptide, with the ghrelin peptide, can modulate immune signaling in patient-derived T cells. So, and I think if we can demonstrate that, and it does have an impact, then that would be very important. And I think that would catalyze more research into this field and more funding to go into studying this in more detail. It's very difficult to predict where we'll be in 2 years, 3 years' time. But if we can get this project to work and demonstrate a change in this immune signaling profile in the next 12 months, then I think that's a real big step forward.